Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your favorite internet tailor again, Ada Uju. It sounds like I'm whispering. See guys, I'm trying not to wake my baby. And in this video, I'm going to share tips and tricks on how to get your waistline snatched. You guys know it's corset season. Everybody wants to sew a corset. And most importantly, everybody wants to get their waistline snatched. Okay, there are tips and tricks to this, and I'm going to share them with you in this video. Now, the first thing you must do to get a snatched waistline is to draft your pattern correctly. Now, one big mistake I see a lot of people make is when they are drafting their patterns, okay? For the front part of the pattern, that's the corset pattern, the nipple point, the under bust point, and the waist point is well defined, okay? Now, going to the back, I notice a lot of people do not really care to highlight where the under bust point is. And you guys know that when it comes to, even without a corset, when it comes to even shaping a basic bustier, getting your under bust point is very important because it helps to give you this shape. You guys know that the shape from our under bust, from our bust to under bust is like this. Before you now have the under bust shape to your waistline like this, or maybe slightly slanted. So you want to make sure your under bust point is well defined. In my latest tutorial where I showed you guys how to draft a basic corset, okay, you guys will see in that video how to draft a corset without necessarily drafting, a basic body, but I'm highlighting the important points. And I did that for the front and the back pattern because I wanted you guys to know that it is very important to highlight the back, to highlight the under bust point at the back pattern because it helps to give the back part of a corset a very good shape. So when the under bust point is highlighted in the front part of a corset and it's also highlighted in the back part of a corset, you will see that it gives this snatching effect. It gives this well shapy effect to the corset and it makes it come out nice and beautiful and of course snatched. Okay, now the next tip to help you get your waistline snatched, to get the waistline inside, to get rid of the stomach. You guys know I have a baby, and of course after I had a baby my stomach was flat, but then food did not let me to be great. I now have a bulgy stomach. This tip has helped to suck my stomach in, and when you see me be asking me, Ada, do you have a baby? Now, one thing I do when I'm drafting my corset is I make sure I take the same measurement at my under bust point and my waist point. Do you know why I take the same measurement at my under bust point and my waist point? There is about 3 inches difference between my under bust point and my waist point, which is not so much if you ask me. So when I'm drafting my pattern, I take the same measurement at my under bust point and my waist point because of course that excess 3 inches is stomach, and if it's stomach it can as well go back inside. You can suck it back inside. So by the time I take the same measurement at under bust and my waistline, this helps to suck in the excess stomach, the excess flabby stomach. It helps to suck it in for me and I have a snatched waistline. You guys will not even know I've had a baby, and this is what I see a lot of designers do. That is in addition to marking your under bust point both at the front and the back pattern. The next thing you want to go ahead to do is to make sure you take the same measurement at your under bust point and your waist point. Now, a lot of people will argue this. They will say that, oh, that what if the difference between your under bust point and your waist point is a lot? What should you do? Something I always tell people to do is, if the difference between your under bust point and your waist point is a lot, minus 3 inches from your waist point and draft your pattern. Like for example, if your waistline is 39 and let's say your under bust point is 35, all you should just do is minus 3 inches from your waistline. So 39 minus 3 inches, that will give us around 36. You go ahead to draft your pattern. That way, by the time I wear my corset and I lace it at the back, it sucks in the stomach and gets rid of the extra things that will make your waistline get snatched. Okay, so this is a tip you should be at the back of your mind if you don't want to take the same measurement at your under bust point and your waist point. Okay, now something you must do to get a very snatched waistline when you are sewing a corset or when you are drafting your pattern, you want to make sure you are working with lacing. Okay, you guys know that when it comes to sewing a corset, you don't just use only lacing. Some people like me, I prefer to use a zipper, A lot of times I don't like to use, this lacing and your eyenet and all that. But then I realized that I got a more snatched look when I used my lacing as opposed to when I used a zipper, okay? So one thing to help accentuate your waistline, in addition to making sure your underbust point is well defined at the back part and the front part of your corset pattern, okay, that's number one. In addition to also making sure that you take the same measurement at your underbust point, and your waistline, okay. In addition to that, you want to make sure you are using lacing. So you guys envision this: when you have a bag and you just zip it, you guys know that it can still be it can still be moving around. There are some things that can still be doing popo inside. But by the time you hold the bag and you use rope, to tie it, to make sure that there's no air or anything, everything just stays put. That's why you see, maybe when you're traveling or you have to send out something via Weibo or via courier, they use their tape, okay, they use this sellotape to bind the bag so nothing breaks, nothing moves around and shatters or breaks and crack. So something to help you get a defined waistline, to get your waistline snatched, you want to make sure you are using your lacing. You want to make sure your corset is laced and you're not using a zipper, okay. Another thing that will help you get a well-defined, a beautifully snatched waistline, you want to make sure that there's a distance between your lacing. You guys know that there are different types of lacings when it comes to lacing your corset. There is one that the lacing is literally like this, so you just tie your rope, okay. And there's one that there's a distance between the two back pieces of the corset. So you want to make sure that the distance between the two back pieces of the corset is at least 2 inches, so that you have this pull. There will be a pulling effect, okay, of the lacing when you're trying to put in the rope, and by the time you've put in the rope and you tie it, it is tight. Do you guys understand? Because when there's a little distance, it will give room for pulling, and tying to get that snatched effect of your waistline. Do you understand? So just take a tour around some Instagram pages that they are really, really big on corset. They do ready to wear corset, or they do bespoke corset. You will see that there's always a distance in the two back pieces, of the back part, because you need that space to be able to pull the parts together and tie. Do you guys understand? Even if it has that modesty closure, that closure at the back, so that maybe your bra strap or your entire back won't be showing. That one doesn't have anything to do with the snatching, but you see that there's always a distance between the two back pieces to give you that snatching effect, okay. Another very important tip to give you a snatched effect when you are sewing your corset, this one is very important, is you want to make sure you are using boning in the right places. Now, to give you a very snatched corset, you don't just want to use boning only in the front part of your corset. I know sometimes I'm guilty of this, because I'm not a really big fan of corsets, or I don't like to wear it. But if you want to get that snatched effect in your corset, don't just stop at putting your boning just 1, 2, 3. Don't just stop at that. Make sure you put by the sides, okay. Put at the back too. That way it holds. A corset is more like a wooden framework, okay. Yeah, that is flexible. It's more like silicone. I don't know how to explain it, but you guys get the drill. So by the time you put your boning, let me even tell you, when you put a boning in a bustier, it helps to give the bustier shape. So now imagine in a corset that you've well structured out all your shape and everything. It will just make it stand. After it has stood, you will now enter inside and they will now tie you. Tell me why your waistline will not be snatched. So something you want to make sure you do when you're sewing your corset, or you want to make sure you're putting your boning not just in the front. You want to make sure you're putting in the front, at the sides, on the back, around that point. At that point where you're going to put in your lacing, you want to make sure the boning is there, so that you don't have like weak tension then that will allow you tie the corset in together. You want to make sure you're putting at the sides. You want to make sure that your boning is in the right place, so that by the time you've defined your under bust point both in the front part and the back part, you've taken same measurement at your bust point and your waistline, or you subtract I'm going to bite my mouth, or you've subtracted 3 inches at your waistline, depending on what you want to do. If you don't want to work with same measurement at your under bust point and your waist point, you are using your lacing, you've put your boning. Trust me guys, your waistline is going to come out snatched. It's going to come out snatched. Quote me anywhere. Adaoju 2022. If you don't know how to draft a corset pattern, check the link in the description box on how to draft a corset pattern. I have 2 tutorials. I have more to come. So just check it out and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye guys.